What's going on, guys? It's John here from RPO Bay Hockey to talk about Kyle Turris and 5 potential teams that he could be traded to this offseason. So if you are here, please do subscribe to the channel, drop a like, comment your thoughts on this video. I'm going to talk about Turris and his destinations and specific trades that could go down involving Kyle Turris. So Kyle Turris, obviously traded from the Ottawa Senators to the Nashville Predators. He is a guy that can put up 50, 60 points. He's a two-way guy, but he's got a $6 million cap hit. So the fact that there's still $30 million left, 5 years, $6 million per, the Nashville Predators are probably a little worried. And if you look at their forward group, they might be more comfortable either getting Nick Bonino more minutes or looking at a cheaper option. Right now, Kyle Turris at $6 million, especially the season that he just had, they're looking at other options. And now that they have Matt Duchene as well, the 1, 2, 3 of Ryan Johansson, Matt Duchene, and Nick Bonino could be really intriguing for the Preds moving forward, and they really don't need a guy like Kyle Turris in that lineup. So I'm going to talk about the teams he could be traded to, and let's get right into that, starting with the Winnipeg Jets. So the Jets, we know, have been looking for a second-line center for so long, and Brian Little has fit that role, but he really hasn't to their expectations. And you've always seen guys like Scheifele up there with Wheeler or Kyle Connor, but the secondary scoring sometimes struggles from not having that solid centerman, whether it's a Patrick Laine or a Nikolai Ehlers, and that's why we're talking about Patrick Laine trade rumors right now. But if you get a better centerman for a guy like Laine, maybe things improve. And they've seen a guy like Stastny come into the lineup. They had Kevin Hayes. Obviously, that didn't work out in their playoff run. So, Kyle Turris, it could be an option. I'm not saying specifically one of the RFAs on the Jets go the other way, whether that's an Ehlers or a Kyle Connor. Obviously, Ehlers is not an RFA, but he has been in trade rumors because they are trying to re-sign the other RFA, Patrick Laine. So that's obviously something to consider. Maybe the Preds include one of their D to kind of get a bigger return. Obviously, the Preds just lost PK Subban, so I'm not sure this becomes a bigger trade. Kyle Turris, in some teams' eyes, probably a little bit of a cap dump, but no, he's still going to provide you 40, 50, 60 points if he gets his bounce back year, which I expect him to do if he does get a change of scenery. And I just feel like the Nashville Predators, it's not like he was in a bad situation, but now with Matt Duchene there, he's really not going to get the opportunities and really not going to get the minutes. And I could see the Jets, him playing in a 2C role, he could get that bounce back year. Let's go to the Edmonton Oilers. Okay, well, this one, Nugent Hopkins obviously is lined up right now to be your 2C. But Nugent Hopkins can also play the wing. We've seen him play the wing, and the Oilers definitely don't have the center depth. So even if they had Nugent Hopkins at the 2, McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, and Turris becomes a very, very big threat up the middle. And I look at the Oilers and see maybe a cap dump going the other way, but then they would have to get some assets going to Nashville. And I don't know if they want to trade a guy like Evan Bouchard so early, but maybe a first or second round pick if the Oilers are confident in making the playoffs. If they could include a guy like Manning or maybe that contract with Sam Gagner. Again, the Preds are tight for cap as well. So that is something to consider in that fact. But the Edmonton Oilers need to figure out their contract situations. Obviously, that the Milan Lucic has been a huge issue. So if I'm looking at what the Preds want, maybe it's one of the defensemen on the Oilers. Nurse is there, Larson is there, and Klefbom is there. So those three right there are maybe at least one of those names could be intriguing to the Preds. If you're looking at the Oilers, and that's why I feel like some Oilers fans were frustrated. When you drafted Broberg, you were looking for one of those skilled forwards to draft to get into your top 6 or top 9 for the future. So it was a little frustrating for Oilers fans, but now you get a guy like Kyle Turris, who, again, like I said, I believe he can have a bounce-back year, maybe play with a guy like Nugent Hopkins, and I feel like the Oilers could be a fit. Again, I don't see them. Nurse has been in some trade rumors, but I don't see Nurse being in that deal. Maybe it's a guy like Adam Larson. Nurse and Klefbom are both left-handed, and the Preds did just lose a right-handed defenseman in PK Subban, so maybe Adam Larson is a fit there. Just something to talk about, but I do believe the Oilers are a fit. Let's move on to the Montreal Canadiens. So the Canadiens tried to offer sheet, well, they did offer sheet Aho, but the Hurricanes matched it, and it's been rumored that they were looking at a guy like Braden Point, and at points, Mitch Marner, but they do still, in a lot of eyes, need a more experienced top 6 forward, or specifically a top 6 centerman. And Kyle Turris could fit that mold. again, it really depends who would be going the other way for the Montreal Canadiens. Do they want to move on from a guy like Deneau? They already traded Andrew Shaw and lost that cap hit. They feel like the addition of Ben Sherratt finally completes their defense group, and they feel confident in their goaltending now with Keith Kincaid backing up Carey Price. So it's their forward group. I don't know who exactly would go the other way. Like I said, they have still a couple guys to re-sign, but if they are confident in a guy like Deneau to slot in their top 6 or top 9 in a big center role, maybe against the other team's tough lines, because again, a guy like Ryan Poehling, if he's getting a big role in the upcoming season, he still needs a lot to learn and a lot of development before he can handle tasks like that. So I think the Montreal Canadiens are fit, and I think Kyle Turris, again, the $6 million cap hit, they just offer sheeted Aho for over $8 million, so they are confident in using that cap for their forward group. Let's move on to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So this one's interesting. I feel like all the forwards out there are going to be targeted in some sense by the Blue Jackets. If it's available, the Blue Jackets will consider. They just lost Duchesne, Panarin. I don't know if Dzingle's coming back. So they're looking at that situation as Kyle Turris now could be an option going forward. I don't know if there's been talks yet. Again, this is a lot of speculation, but the Preds are a team that they're set. They feel like they're set. So maybe it's the Blue Jackets just spending a few draft picks. But again, you saw the rental prices for guys like Duchesne and Dzingel. They've already spent quite a few draft picks. So do they want to spend more draft picks? Maybe with the Sonny Milano, I don't know if you heard about him getting arrested. Maybe that diminishes his value. Maybe he would go in the other way. And one of the defensemen, we've talked about Nudavara or a guy like Ryan Murray, again with the Preds losing a guy like PK Subban. So there is many situations here where a trade could go down, but I do believe Kyle Turris is a fit with the Blue Jackets. And finally, the Buffalo Sabres. So the Sabres signing Marcus Johansson out of free agency, they still potentially have a hole there. It really depends how the roster looks going into the preseason. If they feel out of training camp that Casey Middlestat can handle his own on that second line in between maybe like a guy like Sam Reinhart and Marcus Johansson, then Middlestat will go there and they'll be confident all the way down. But if they do feel like Middlestat still needs one guy ahead of him, then they could acquire a guy like Kyle Turris. They have the cap space. They have a couple players down in the lineup. And I do want to discuss Rasmus Ristolainen. If you look at the depth chart right now, if Bogosian is partnered with a guy like Dahlin, or at least on that right side, you still have Montour and now Colin Miller. Ristolainen might, this kind of sounds weird, but he might be the odd man out. I wonder if Ristolainen could maybe go back to Nashville in this trade. We talked about, is Dante Fabro really ready to take on that top 4 role in Nashville? Yes, he's very skilled, but also still very young. Early 20s, we haven't seen him in a full season, and with a guy like Ristolainen, yes, he's had his struggles, but maybe if he's partnered with a guy like Yossi or partnered with a guy like Ekholm, maybe he can find his way. So I wonder if there's something there. Again, just speculation on my part, but it's fun talking about it. So thank you guys for watching this video. Again, if you are here, please do subscribe. I appreciate all the support. Drop a like. Comment your thoughts on what I talked about, where you believe Kyle Turris could be traded to. Again, it's either Turris or Bonino. They're not going to keep both. It just doesn't make sense. Now with Johansson and Duchesne, your 1-2 punch, you're not going to keep both. And with Kyle Turris' cap hit, I do believe they are going to move on from him. So again, thank you. This was John from RPO Bay Adelaide. Have a good one. Peace out.